My friend, the moment you entertain the idea that what you seek is too far, you step away from the truth. The truth is, it is already here, closer than breath, closer than heartbeat. The moment you dare to imagine it, it was conceived. You do not chase after what is yours by divine right. You align, you assume, you remain. And yes, there are moments when the silence gets louder than your hope. When the world outside refuses to mirror the vision inside. That is the test. That is the sacred moment most walk away, never knowing how close they were. You ask, where is it? Why hasn't it come? But I ask you, have you abandoned the state of knowing for the doubt of seeing? You are not here to react. You are here to create. You create by imagining boldly and refusing to waver, by accepting the end as done long before it whispers into the physical. Your senses will betray you. Circumstances may mock you, but the unseen is more potent than all appearances. Hold fast to your vision. Do not modify your desire to match the delay. The delay is not denial, it is preparation, rearrangement, the divine orchestration of all things moving toward you. You must live as though it is already yours, because it is. It was always yours, the moment you claimed it within. So don't stop now. Don't talk yourself out of your own power. You are standing at the gate of your own answered prayer. One more moment of faith, one more day in the state, one more breath of conviction, and the world will have no choice but to yield to your command. Your job is not to figure out how. Your job is to remain in the knowing. The seed has taken root. The soil has been warmed by your belief. And though the tree has not yet broken the surface, it grows, silently, surely, unstoppably. The time to give up was yesterday. Today, you persist. Because today, your manifestation is closer than you think. Stay there, feel it, live it, and it must come. Everything you desire already exists within the unseen realm of your imagination. It is not something you are chasing. It is something you are awakening to. The moment you first imagined it, it was conceived. That invisible act, that spark of inner awareness, was not mere fantasy, it was creation. What the world calls imaginary is the very blueprint of reality. And to remain faithful to this invisible act, to hold it within as though it is already your truth, is the single most powerful act you can perform. Yet most do not persist. They imagine once, maybe twice, and then retreat. They begin to observe the world of facts, the bills, the silence, the absence, and they let those shadows convince them that the imagined thing is not real, that their inner world was a lie. They abandon their creation, not knowing how close it was to becoming visible. To give up is to abort the birth of your desire. You do not plant a seed and dig it up the next morning to check if it's growing. You water it, you protect it, you wait, not with doubt, but with a quiet confidence that what is hidden is already unfolding. Manifestation is no different. It demands persistence, not effort, not struggle, but steady, unwavering inner conviction. Imagination is the womb of reality, and what you persist in imagining, what you continually return to, what you embody in feeling, that becomes your world. The outer world must mirror the inner one. That is law. But the mirror is delayed. There is a sacred gap between imagining and seeing, and that gap is what tests you. Will you hold on to your vision when nothing yet confirms it? Will you trust the invisible when the visible screams otherwise? Most people fall in that gap. They do not understand that persistence in the assumption of the wish fulfilled is the bridge. They allow time and appearances to weaken their faith. But time is not your enemy. It is your servant. It is giving shape to what you have already claimed. You must dare to live from the end, even when the beginning looks barren. You must dare to walk through the world with the inner knowing that your desire is already accomplished, not because someone told you so, but because you saw it, felt it, claimed it within yourself. And if you saw it clearly, then it is. The seed is planted. What you do in imagination is more real than what you see with your eyes, because the world of form is only a shadow of consciousness. Do not let the shadow define your faith. Let your inner world remain untouched by delay or doubt, because if you persist, reality must conform. It has no choice. It is bound by the law of consciousness. So persist, not with force, but with quiet certainty. Return again and again to the scene that implies your desire is fulfilled. Feel it as though it were already so. Walk as the one who has it. Speak as the one who knows. And hold firm even when no sign appears. Because the moment you almost give up, that is often the moment it is just about to be born. The world you see with your eyes is not the final authority on what is real. Appearances deceive. They play catch-up to your inner world. What you feel is true within yourself. That is the seed of all reality. The mistake most make is placing their faith in what the senses report, not realizing that the senses are simply echoing a past state of consciousness. The life you're currently experiencing is not new. It is a delayed reflection of who you once believed yourself to be. This is why judging by appearances will always mislead you. The moment you set an intention, when you assume the wish fulfilled in your imagination, something shifts, but the shift is internal first. The change is silent, subtle, and sacred. The outer world does not always instantly comply, not because the inner work is weak, but because the world of form takes time to rearrange. It's like turning a massive ship. The wheel has been turned, but the direction takes a moment to catch up. You must understand this. The feeling is the truth. If you can feel it deeply and consistently, the feeling of already having, already being, then that is what creates. Not hope, not effort, but feeling. The emotional acceptance of your desire as already real is the engine of manifestation. And yet, when people begin this work, they quickly look outside for evidence. They check the phone for a message. They stare at the bank account. They search for signs in conversations, glances, numbers, and situations. And when the outer world does not immediately affirm the inner vision, they fall back into doubt. They say, maybe it's not working. Maybe it's not meant for me. But in doing so, they shift states from faith to fear, from knowing to questioning, and then wonder why their world doesn't change. The world will always reflect your dominant state. A moment of belief cannot compete with days of worry. You cannot treat imagination like a lottery ticket you check once and then forget. It is a state you dwell in. It is a knowing you carry, and the only thing that proves your manifestation is coming is the feeling of already having it. Not a sign, not a hint, but a deep inner resonance that says, this is who I am now. It is possible to feel rich when the world calls you poor. It is possible to feel loved when no one has spoken your name. And it is that feeling, not your circumstance, that brings change. Circumstances are clay. Consciousness is the mold. Do not ask the clay to instruct the potter. So trust the feeling. Let it become your compass. Let it lead you when the world seems unchanged, because the world will change, it must. The moment you stop needing evidence and start living from the end, the outer must respond. It is bound to reflect the state you sustain within. The signs may lie, the senses may deceive, but the feeling, the felt truths, that is the law. Ignore the noise. Withdraw your faith from the facts and invest it fully in the unseen, for that is where all things are born. Keep your feeling pure, keep it strong, and know that what you feel is real must become real. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest who you are. The truth is, you already possess everything you seek, but not in the outer world. You possess it in consciousness. This is the great secret. Manifestation is not a matter of gaining, attracting, or striving. It is a matter of accepting what is already yours in the unseen realm, of claiming it inwardly and faithfully remaining there, unmoved by the illusions of absence. Desire is not a sign of lack. It is a signal from your deeper self that what you desire is already yours on the level of being. You are not trying to bring something to you. You are awakening to what is already within. When you truly understand this, the idea of chasing, begging, or struggling disappears. You stop seeing yourself as someone in need, and you begin living as someone who already is. This is the shift. You do not imagine to create, you imagine to remember. The moment you embody the feeling of already having, already being, you shift into possession. And once something is possessed in consciousness, the world has no choice but to mirror it. The problem arises when people confuse the physical arrival of the thing with the moment of its manifestation. But the truth is, the manifestation happens the moment you accept it within. That is the moment of change. Everything that follows in the physical world is just the slow unveiling of what has already occurred. You must understand, the outer is always late. Always. It is a delayed echo, a reflection. But the inner world is immediate. When you accept a new reality in your imagination, when you feel it as true without evidence, you have claimed it, it is yours. From that moment on, your only task is to remain in that state. Not to make it happen, but to stay there. Staying there means refusing to entertain thoughts of lack. It means ignoring the voice that says, but nothing has changed. It means you walk, talk, and breathe as the one who already has it. Because in truth, you do. Your world is merely adjusting to your new identity. If you truly knew this, you would not be anxious, you would not be waiting, you would not be asking when. You would be resting in the knowing that the thing is already done. This is the peace that comes from living in the end. Not hoping, not needing, but receiving. So don't try to acquire your manifestation, accept it. Possess it inwardly, own it in silence. Let your inner conversations match the reality you have chosen. Let your reactions reflect someone who already has. This is not pretending. This is spiritual ownership. When you stop seeking and start being, everything begins to shift. The world cannot deny a man or woman who is fully persuaded of who they are. And if you can dwell in that knowing, if you can persist in the acceptance of your desire as already accomplished, then the physical must come. Not as a reward for your effort, but as a reflection of who you have become. You already possess it in consciousness. There is nowhere to go. There is nothing to wait for. Just stay there and let the world catch up. Delay is never a denial. It is a divine rearrangement, a sacred unfolding of what you have already accepted in consciousness. The moment you dare to assume your desire is fulfilled, your entire world begins to shift. But this shift is often silent, unseen, and misunderstood. You look around and it seems nothing is happening, or worse, everything appears to be falling apart. Yet what feels like chaos is not destruction. It is construction. What feels like a setback is often the very path to your assumption becoming form. When you imagine a new state, when you truly claim a new identity within, the old world must crumble. Not to punish you, but to make room. Reality cannot support two opposing identities at once. The self you used to be, the one who lacked, who feared, who doubted, must dissolve, and with it the circumstances that matched it. This unraveling is often mistaken as failure, but it is simply the old reality being deconstructed, brick by brick, so your new state can rise. Too often, people assume that if their desire doesn't appear quickly, something is wrong. They begin to question, to doubt, to slip back into the state of not having. But the delay is not proof of absence. It is proof of movement. The deeper the shift you've made, the more your world must rearrange. Do not interfere with this process by trying to control it. Do not dig up the seed because it hasn't bloomed in a day. Understand this. Your world is not punishing you, it is obeying you. But it is obeying your state, not your words. So when you assume the wish fulfilled, truly feel it and dwell in that identity, you have spoken the creative word. The rearrangement begins, even if nothing yet appears changed. You may lose people, opportunities may vanish, jobs may collapse, but none of it is to harm you, it is to align you. You ask for a new reality, and now everything that contradicts it must fall away. What is yours cannot be kept from you, but it also cannot reach you while you're holding on to the old version of yourself. Let it go. Let things shift. Let the path become unfamiliar. Do not panic when the middle looks messy. This is not the end. It is the turning. Have you ever cleaned out a closet or rearranged a room? It must first become a mess. Things come off shelves. Dust is stirred. Items are thrown away. It looks worse before it becomes beautiful. Your life is no different. When your assumption is strong, the rearrangement is natural. The only thing that delays it further is your resistance, your disbelief, your impatience. So rest in the knowing that delay is divine. It is not the universe withholding. It is the universe aligning. It is the unseen moving all things into harmony with your inner state. And if you can stay faithful in the waiting, if you can hold your assumption when everything else is dissolving, you will walk into a life you once only dreamed of. Do not curse the delay, bless it. It means something is happening. It means the old is clearing. It means the new is coming. Your only task is to remain in the state. Everything else will follow. There is a strange and sacred moment that comes to all who dare to imagine boldly. A moment when everything within you is tempted to give up. It arrives quietly, sometimes suddenly, and it brings with it an overwhelming pressure to quit. Nothing seems to be working. The evidence of your desire is nowhere in sight. Doubt creeps in like fog, heavy and unrelenting. It whispers lies. It's not going to happen. You were foolish to believe. It's time to let it go. But this moment, this pressure, is not a sign of failure. It is the final test. The darkest hour is not symbolic, it is real, and it almost always comes just before the breakthrough. It is not random. It is not punishment. It is the final purification of your faith. Will you hold your state, your vision, your inner knowing, even when the world outside gives you every reason not to? Will you persist in the assumption when the evidence seems to mock it? That is the test. And it is not cruel, it is purposeful. When you first assume the wish fulfilled, you feel powerful, clear, even euphoric. But time passes and the outer world hasn't caught up. You begin to wonder if you were wrong. This wondering is the crossroads. One path leads back to the old state, safety, comfort, and resignation. The other path requires you to step fully into the unknown. It demands that you trust in the unseen, not because you see proof, but because you know who you are. Most people stop here. They stop just before the bridge appears. They let the noise of the outer world convince them that nothing is happening. But everything is happening just beneath the surface. The pressure you feel is not a signal to give up. It is the birth pangs of the new reality. You are about to emerge. You are being asked to hold on a little longer, not because it is far away, but because it is close. Think of it this way. The seed breaks through the soil not because it is failing, but because it is growing. The pressure you feel is the result of your inner expansion. The old self is dying. The old beliefs are crumbling. And just before the new world becomes visible, there is a moment of complete silence. A void. An empty space. That space is sacred. Do not rush it. Do not abandon it. Stay. Your bridge of incidents, the path that connects the invisible to the visible, is forming. But it cannot appear until you have proven to yourself that you no longer need proof. The moment you stop looking for signs is often the moment the sign appears. Not to reassure you, but to confirm what you already claimed. This is why persistence is the secret ingredient. Not effort, not striving, just being, remaining in the state, refusing to give up what you've already accepted. And if you can do that, if you can face the pressure without bending, the breakthrough becomes inevitable. So when it gets hard, when it gets quiet, when it feels like nothing is moving, remember, this is the final test. And if you can stand still in your assumption, if you can remain faithful to what you felt is real, the bridge will appear, the door will open, and everything you imagined will step forward just as you believed it would. Feeling you carry is not just an emotion, it is the magnetic force drawing your desire into form. Every time you return to the state of the wish fulfilled, every time you feel the truth of your desire as if it were already done, you send out a silent command to the universe. You are not begging, you are not wishing, you are knowing. And that knowing is creative. It pulls unseen threads together in perfect timing, perfect order, in perfect alignment. You don't need to know how, you only need to remain faithful to the feeling. That's the part that people overlook. They chase signs, watch the clock, and monitor circumstances, never realizing that all the power is already in their possession. It's not in the world, it's in their state. The longer you dwell in that inner state, not occasionally, not when it's easy, but consistently, the more magnetic you become. You don't attract by effort, you attract by identity. You become the one who already has it. You walk like it, breathe like it, react like it. You don't fake it, you embody it. That embodiment is what causes the world to rearrange itself around you. You don't need to run after anything. In truth, your desire is already moving toward you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally became the version of yourself who lives in that reality. But this requires faith. Not blind belief in an idea, but loyalty to the unseen. Faith is the ability to remain true to your chosen state, even when the senses report the opposite. It's the quiet courage to say, I know it is done, without needing anything outside to confirm it. And as you continue to feel it real, something begins to shift. Not just within you, but in the world around you. Conversations change, people appear, doors open. Not because you chase them, but because your vibration, your assumption, your identity call them in. So don't stop now. Not when you've come this far, not when the bridge is forming. If you were to stop now, you would be like a sculptor who walks away just before the final detail is carved. You've already shaped the inner mold. Now let the outer world catch up. It's already reaching for you. Every time you close your eyes and feel yourself to be the person who has, who is, who lives the life you imagine, you bring it closer. You are collapsing time. You are making the invisible tangible. You don't need permission. You don't need proof. You just need to stay in the feeling. Let others panic. Let the world rush. You remain still. You remain sure. And in that stillness, in that certainty, creation takes place. The faithful feeling is the creative act. It is the spark and the bridge. And the longer you dwell there, the more your world bends to meet you. So breathe deeply, return to the state, see it, feel it, know it, because it is yours. Not someday, not soon, but now, in consciousness. And what is accepted there must appear here. Keep dwelling, keep feeling. It's already on its way. You are not waiting for your manifestation. Your manifestation is waiting for you to remain in the feeling of it being already done. This journey is not about forcing outcomes, chasing signs, or doubting in the dark. It is about dwelling in the state of fulfillment, trusting the unseen, and walking by inner knowing, not outer evidence. Everything you desire is already yours in consciousness. Stay there. Let the old fall away. Let delay work on your behalf. Let the pressure refine your faith. Your consistent inner feeling is calling the new world into form. Do not quit on the edge of your breakthrough. The bridge is forming under your feet even now. Hold the state, feel it real, persist in the assumption, and the world will not only reflect what you've imagined, it will confirm who you've become. Be closer than you think. Thank you. Thank you for listening and allowing these words to be planted in your spirit. Let them guide you back to your power, the power to assume, the power to feel, the power to know it is done. Stay faithful, stay focused, and above all, stay in the state, because everything is already yours.
We often see solitude as loneliness, a state to be avoided, a void that needs to be filled. But in truth, solitude is where the soul finds its highest expression. It is in being alone that we discover the boundless power that resides within. When you find yourself alone, something remarkable happens. The external world fades, and you become acutely aware of the inner realm, the space where your imagination reigns supreme. It is in this state of solitude that imagination becomes not just a passive daydream, but an active, creative force capable of shaping reality itself. In those moments of quiet introspection, you are free from the distractions and influences of the outside world, which allows your imagination to expand and operate without limits. Imagination is far more than a fanciful escape. It is, in fact, the engine of creation. Everything that exists around you, every invention, every achievement, every advancement began as an idea, a vision, or a mental picture in someone's mind. When you are alone, your imagination is unencumbered by the judgments or opinions of others. It can operate freely, unafraid of criticism or doubt. This is why solitude is such fertile ground for creativity. It provides the space to let your imagination explore uncharted territories. Your imagination serves as a bridge between the present and the future. What you imagine today has the potential to become your reality tomorrow. The key lies in understanding that imagination is not separate from reality, but rather a precursor to it. Your mind has the extraordinary ability to visualize outcomes and scenarios before they physically manifest. When you close your eyes and picture yourself succeeding, achieving, or experiencing something new, you are not merely fantasizing, you are creating the blueprint for what will eventually come to pass. Consider the role imagination plays in shaping your beliefs and expectations. What you habitually think about in your moments of solitude directly influences how you perceive the world around you. If you spend time imagining a future filled with abundance, joy, and success, your mind begins to align itself with those possibilities. On the other hand, if you allow your imagination to dwell on fear, lack, or failure, you will find yourself unconsciously moving toward those outcomes. The power of imagination lies in its ability to mold not only your thoughts, but also the circumstances of your life. This power becomes even more profound when we understand that imagination is not limited by time, space, or the constraints of the physical world. You can use your imagination to transcend the limitations of your current situation and explore infinite possibilities. It is through this process that great inventions are born, new ideas emerge, and personal transformations take place. When you are alone, you are free to play with these possibilities, to experiment with different outcomes in your mind before bringing them into your reality. Many of the most successful and creative individuals throughout history have spoken about the importance of solitude and imagination in their work. Whether it was Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, or Leonardo da Vinci, they all recognized that their most groundbreaking ideas came to them when they were alone, allowing their imaginations to roam freely. In the quiet of their own minds, they were able to see connections and possibilities that eluded others. This is because when you are alone, your mind is not bound by the expectations or limitations imposed by society. You are free to envision a world that does not yet exist, a reality that you alone can create. Moreover, imagination is intimately tied to emotion, and this emotional connection is what gives it such profound creative power. When you imagine something vividly and infuse that vision with emotion, whether it be excitement, passion, or gratitude, you are essentially programming your subconscious mind to bring that vision into existence. Your emotions act as fuel, giving life to the mental pictures you create. This is why, when you are alone and fully immersed in your imaginative world, you often feel a sense of exhilaration or deep fulfillment. You are aligning yourself with the energy of creation itself. You have the opportunity to cultivate this imaginative power deliberately. You can choose to direct your thoughts toward the outcomes you desire, visualizing them with clarity and emotion until they feel as real as your current circumstances. The more you practice this, the more you will notice that your external world begins to shift in alignment with your inner visions. People, opportunities, and resources that were once out of reach will seem to appear as if by magic, drawn to the energy you are emitting. The power of imagination lies in its ability to transform your life from the inside out. In moments of solitude, when you are free from the distractions of the world, you can tap into this infinite power within you. You become not a passive observer of life, but an active creator, shaping your reality through the images and visions you hold in your mind. Imagination, when embraced fully, is the most powerful tool you possess for manifesting the life you desire. There is a profound magic in solitude, a quiet force that often goes unnoticed in the rush of everyday life. Many people shy away from being alone, fearing it as a form of isolation or emptiness. But to those who understand its true value, solitude becomes a gateway to something far more powerful: creativity. In the stillness, when the noise of the world fades and distractions dissolve, the mind opens to the vast possibilities of creation. This is creative solitude, a sacred space where your deepest ideas and visions can emerge. Creative solitude is not about loneliness, it is about presence. When you are alone, you become fully present with yourself, without the influence of others. In this space, your thoughts are your own, and there is no pressure to conform to external expectations. In solitude, you reconnect with the essence of who you are. You peel away the layers of societal roles, responsibilities, and noise to rediscover your own voice, your own vision. This is where true creativity thrives, when you can listen to your inner self without interference. Being alone allows your mind to wander freely, unrestricted by the constraints that often come with interacting in groups or social settings. Ideas that might have been stifled by the judgments or opinions of others now have room to breathe. In this solitude, you can explore the depths of your imagination, experimenting with concepts, dreams, and possibilities that are uniquely yours. This process is not rushed, it unfolds naturally, in its own time. The more you allow yourself to be comfortable in this creative solitude, the more inspiration will flow to you. Many great minds have recognized the importance of solitude in their creative processes. Writers, artists, inventors, and thinkers throughout history have spoken of the need to retreat from the world in order to access their most innovative ideas. For them, solitude was not a hindrance, but a gift, a place where they could immerse themselves in their work without distraction. In these moments of withdrawal, they were able to dig deeper into their consciousness and uncover insights that had eluded them in busier settings. Creative solitude is not just about the act of creation, it is about connection, a deeper connection with yourself and the world around you. When you are alone, you can tap into the rhythms of your own thoughts and feelings. You become attuned to the subtle movements of your inner world, allowing you to explore ideas with a heightened sense of clarity and intuition. In this space, you are not influenced by the need to perform or impress. You are free to create from a place of authenticity and truth. This inner connection fuels the creative process, allowing you to produce work that resonates on a deeper level. The act of creating in solitude also invites reflection. When you are alone, you have the space to reflect on your ideas, to refine them, and to let them evolve. Creativity is rarely a linear process. It often involves moments of doubt, revision, and exploration. Solitude provides the mental and emotional space to navigate these stages of the creative journey without feeling rushed or pressured. It gives you the time to observe your thoughts, to try different approaches, and to embrace the natural flow of inspiration as it comes. Solitude allows you to cultivate focus. In a world that is constantly vying for your attention through technology, social interactions, and endless demands, being alone can feel like a refuge. It is in this refuge that you can devote your full attention to the act of creation. Whether it's writing, painting, problem solving, or brainstorming new ideas, solitude gives you the uninterrupted time you need to dive deeply into a work. Without the distractions of the outside world, your focus sharpens, and your creative energy becomes more concentrated. Moreover, solitude offers you the chance to step back and see the bigger picture. Often when we are caught up in the hustle of daily life, we lose sight of our creative goals or long-term visions. Solitude provides a moment of pause, where you can reassess your direction and realign with your purpose. It allows you to reconnect with what truly matters to you, both creatively and personally. This kind of reflection is essential for sustaining a creative life. It helps you stay grounded, ensuring that your work remains aligned with your authentic desires and values. Solitude also encourages a form of inner dialogue that is essential for creativity. When you are alone, you are forced to engage in conversation with yourself, to ask questions, to challenge your assumptions, to explore new perspectives. This self-dialogue is where some of the greatest creative breakthroughs occur. Without the influence of external voices, you can develop your ideas in a more intimate and profound way. This process of internal questioning and exploration often leads to the kind of original thinking that defines great creative work. Creative solitude is a practice that requires embracing stillness and trusting the process. It may not always feel productive or immediately fruitful, but it is in these quiet moments that the seeds of creativity are planted. Over time, as you cultivate this space, your creative ideas will begin to take shape, growing into something tangible and meaningful. The power of creative solitude lies in its ability to connect you with the deepest parts of yourself, allowing you to create from a place of authenticity, clarity, and boundless possibility. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that prizes noise and constant activity, silence can seem uncomfortable, even unsettling. Yet in truth, silence holds a profound power, one that is essential for deep self-discovery. In silence, when the distractions of the outside world fall away, you are left with only yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your inner landscape. This stillness creates a sacred space where you can explore your true nature, understand your deepest desires, and confront the parts of yourself that are often hidden beneath the surface. When you embrace silence, you begin to realize that it is not an empty void, but a rich and fertile ground for introspection. In moments of silence, you are no longer bombarded by the constant input of the external world, social media, conversations, news, and endless stimuli. Instead, you are gifted with the opportunity to tune into your own inner voice, the one that often gets drowned out in the noise of daily life. This is where self-discovery begins. In silence, you can hear your own thoughts more clearly, and in doing so, you start to unravel the layers of who you truly are. It is in this quiet space that you begin to confront your true self. Silence removes the masks we wear in social settings, the facades we present to others. When there is no one else around, no external expectations to meet, you are left with only yourself, raw, unfiltered, and honest. For many, this can be an uncomfortable experience at first. We are often conditioned to avoid the deeper aspects of ourselves, especially those parts we find challenging or painful. But in silence, there is no escape. You are gently forced to look inward and face whatever you may have been avoiding. This confrontation with the self is not a negative experience, rather, it is a liberating one. As you sit with your thoughts and emotions in silence, you begin to see them for what they truly are. You realize that many of the fears and doubts that have held you back are illusions, constructs of the mind that lose their power when examined in the light of awareness. In this space, you also come to understand your strengths, your passions, and your true desires. Self-discovery is not just about recognizing your challenges, it is also about reclaiming your inner power and potential. Silence fosters a deep connection with your intuition. When the external noise fades, your inner wisdom has the chance to speak. This intuitive voice often communicates subtly, through feelings, insights, or quiet realizations. In the noise of daily life, these messages are easily overlooked, but in silence they come to the forefront. Listening to this inner guidance allows you to make decisions that are aligned with your true self, rather than being influenced by outside pressures or societal norms. Over time, as you cultivate a practice of silence, this connection to your intuition grows stronger, guiding you with a sense of clarity and purpose. Another important aspect of silence is that it teaches you to be comfortable with yourself. In a world that is constantly urging us to do more, achieve more, and be more, silence reminds us that we are enough just as we are. In the quiet, you learn to sit with yourself without the need for distraction or validation from others. This is a profound aspect of self-discovery, realizing that you are whole and complete, independent of external achievements or relationships. Silence nurtures self-acceptance, teaching you that your worth is inherent and does not need to be proven. Furthermore, silence allows for emotional healing. Often our busy lives prevent us from truly processing our emotions. We suppress them, distract ourselves, or push them aside in favor of more pressing tasks. But unprocessed emotions do not disappear. They linger beneath the surface, influencing our behavior and our relationships in ways we may not even realize. In silence, these emotions can finally come to light. You are given the space to feel them fully, to understand their origins, and to release them. This process of emotional release is an essential part of self-discovery, as it clears away the old patterns and baggage that have been holding you back. Silence is a pathway to inner transformation. It strips away the external noise and distractions, allowing you to reconnect with your true self. Through reflection, confrontation, and deep listening, you begin to discover who you are at your core beyond the roles you play, beyond the expectations placed upon you. You learn to trust yourself, to listen to your intuition, and to embrace both your strengths and your challenges. In this way, silence is not just a pause in the noise, it is a powerful tool for self-discovery and personal growth. By embracing silence, you embark on a journey inward, one that reveals the depth and richness of your inner world. And in this space, you find not only answers but also peace, clarity, and a sense of purpose that comes from knowing yourself on the deepest level. The conversation you have with yourself, your inner dialogue, is the most powerful and continuous interaction of your life. Often overlooked, it shapes how you see the world, how you experience reality, and ultimately who you become. Unlike external conversations that come and go, your inner dialogue is ever present, running in the background, influencing your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Understanding and mastering this inner dialogue is essential for personal transformation, as it is the key to shaping your life from within. We all engage in self-talk, but most people are not fully conscious of the profound impact it has. It is in your inner dialogue that your beliefs about yourself and the world are constantly reinforced, whether those beliefs are empowering or limiting. When you listen closely, you will realize that much of what you tell yourself daily shapes your perception of reality. If your inner dialogue is filled with self-doubt, criticism, or fear, your life will reflect those thoughts. Conversely, if you cultivate a positive and empowering inner dialogue, you create a mental environment conducive to growth, success, and happiness. One of the most important aspects of your inner dialogue is that it acts as a mirror, reflecting your self-image. What you tell yourself about who you are, your abilities, your worth, your potential determines how you show up in the world. If your inner dialogue is filled with thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," or "I can't do this," those statements become self-fulfilling prophecies. You will unconsciously act in ways that confirm these beliefs. On the other hand, when you engage in affirming, uplifting conversations with yourself, such as "I am capable" or "I deserve success," your actions will align with that mindset, leading you to make decisions that enhance your growth and well-being. Many people don't realize that they have the power to change their inner dialogue. Often we allow it to run on autopilot, influenced by past experiences, societal conditioning, or external opinions. However, once you become aware of the content of your inner conversations, you can begin to actively shape them. This requires a heightened level of self-awareness, taking the time to observe your thoughts without judgment and recognizing when they are not serving you. With practice, you can shift your inner dialogue from being critical and negative to being supportive and constructive. The process of changing your inner dialogue begins with self-compassion. It is common for people to speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another person. Harsh self-criticism, judgment, and negativity are often present in the inner conversations people have with themselves. But this kind of dialogue does not foster growth. It keeps you stuck in patterns of self-sabotage. To shift this, you must first practice speaking to yourself with kindness. Replace critical thoughts with understanding and patience, and you will begin to notice a significant change in how you feel and how you approach challenges. In addition to self-compassion, affirmations play a crucial role in transforming your inner dialogue. Affirmations are positive statements that reflect the person you wish to become or the reality you want to create. By repeating affirmations regularly, you can reprogram your subconscious mind and reshape your beliefs. For example, if you struggle with self-doubt, an affirmation like "I am confident and capable" can slowly replace the negative self-talk that has been holding you back. Over time, these affirmations become part of your inner dialogue, helping you to cultivate a mindset of possibility and empowerment. Your inner dialogue also extends beyond how you speak to yourself. It affects how you perceive and interpret the world around you. When your inner dialogue is grounded in negativity, you will often view the world through a lens of fear or lack. You may focus on problems instead of solutions, or on what's missing in your life rather than what you have. This creates a reality where opportunities are overlooked and challenges seem insurmountable. However, when your inner dialogue is positive and growth-oriented, you begin to see the world as a place full of possibility. You start to recognize opportunities where before there were none, and even setbacks become lessons or stepping stones towards success. The practice of mindfulness can greatly enhance your ability to observe and shape your inner dialogue. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment and aware of your thoughts without judgment. When you practice mindfulness, you become more attuned to the quality of your inner dialogue and can catch negative patterns before they take hold. Instead of allowing a single negative thought to spiral into a series of discouraging beliefs, mindfulness helps you stop the process, allowing you to choose a more positive and empowering direction. The power of your inner dialogue lies in its ability to create your reality. What you repeatedly say to yourself becomes your belief system, and your beliefs shape your actions, habits, and experiences. By actively choosing thoughts that uplift and empower you, you can change not only how you feel about yourself, but also the course of your life. The key is consistency, regularly engaging in positive self-talk and catching negative thoughts before they spiral out of control. As you cultivate a healthy, positive inner dialogue, you will begin to notice shifts in every area of your life. You will feel more confident, more resilient in the face of challenges, and more open to new possibilities. Your relationships will improve because you will approach them from a place of self-assuredness rather than insecurity. Your goals will seem more achievable, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed the way you think about yourself and your capabilities. Mastering your inner dialogue is one of the most transformative practices you can undertake. It is a subtle, yet powerful process of self-discovery and self-creation, one that unlocks the potential that has always been within you. The idea of manifesting from the inner world is rooted in the understanding that the external world is a reflection of your inner state, your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and desires. Everything you experience externally begins as a seed in your mind. This concept, often referred to as the law of attraction or the power of intention, suggests that what you focus on internally, you bring into existence externally. At the core of manifesting from the inner world is the belief not about wishful thinking or mere daydreaming. Every thought you hold consciously aligning your inner world with the reality you want to create. When you consistently think about something, you direct energy toward it. Whether it is a goal, a desire, or even a fear, your thoughts generate energy that begins to take form in your external life. This is why it is so important to become aware of your mental habits. If your mind is focused on lack, limitation, or fear, you will manifest more of those experiences in your life. On the other hand, if your mind is filled with thoughts of abundance, possibility, and success, you will attract those experiences. However, manifesting from the inner world is not just about positive thinking, it goes deeper. It involves aligning your beliefs, emotions, and actions with the outcomes you desire. Simply thinking about something is not enough if deep down you don't truly believe it is possible for you. Your beliefs create a framework that either supports or sabotages your desires. For example, if you want to achieve financial success, but hold a subconscious belief that money is scarce or that you are unworthy of abundance, your efforts will be undermined by these limiting beliefs. To manifest successfully, you must address and transform these internal beliefs so that they are in harmony with what you wish to create. Emotions also play a crucial role in manifesting from the inner world. Feelings are the fuel that gives power to your thoughts. When you emotionally connect with your desires, you generate a strong vibration that the universe responds to. For instance, if you desire a loving relationship, it is not enough to simply think about it. You must also feel the emotions associated with being in that relationship. Feel the love, joy, and connection as though it is already a part of your life. This emotional alignment creates a magnetic force that draws the experience to you. In essence, you are practicing the feeling of what it would be like to have your desire, which accelerates its manifestation. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools for manifesting from the inner world. It allows you to create a mental image of your desired outcome, as if it has already happened. When you visualize, you are not just imagining something in the abstract, you are engaging your mind and emotions in a way that makes the vision feel real. This sends a clear signal to your subconscious mind, which begins to work in the background to bring that vision to life. The more vivid and detailed your visualization, the more effective it is. Imagine the sights, sounds, and feelings associated with your goal. Immerse yourself in the experience mentally, and your external world will start to shift to match that vision. Beyond thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, manifesting from the inner world requires aligned action. This means taking steps in the physical world that are consistent with your desired outcome. While the inner world is where manifestation begins, it must be complemented by action in the outer world. For instance, if you are manifesting a new career, you cannot simply think about it and hope it materializes. You must also take actions that support your vision, whether that is applying from the inner world is faith, improving your skills, or manifestation is not always instant. Action sometimes is the bridge between the inner and outer world. Plant the seed in your mind, and it demonstrates your commitment to materializes in your life. During this period, it is essential to maintain faith in the process. Doubt, fear, or impatience can disrupt the energy you've created and delay the manifestation. Trust that what you have envisioned is on its way, even if it has not yet appeared. This faith keeps your energy aligned with your desire and ensures that you continue to attract it. Another important aspect of manifestation is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have, which in turn attracts more of what you want. By being grateful for your current circumstances, even if they are not yet ideal, you raise your vibrational frequency and align with abundance. Gratitude creates a mindset of appreciation, which invites more things to be thankful for. In this way, gratitude acts as a magnet, drawing your desires closer to you. Manifesting from the inner world is about cultivating the right thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions to bring your desires into reality. It is a process of aligning your inner state with the life you wish to create. Through conscious focus, emotional connection, visualization, and aligned action, you can shape your reality in powerful ways. When you understand that the outer world is a reflection of the inner, you begin to realize that you hold the creative power to manifest anything you desire. Self-reliance is the foundation upon which personal mastery is built. It is the ability to depend on yourself for guidance, strength, and resilience in the face of life's challenges. In a world that often encourages dependence on external validation, authority figures, or societal systems, cultivating self-reliance is a radical act. It requires you to trust in your own abilities, instincts, and decisions. This trust, in turn, leads to a deeper sense of mastery not just over external circumstances, but over your inner world, your thoughts and emotions. At its core, self-reliance is about taking ownership of your life. It means recognizing that you are responsible for your actions, choices, and the path you choose to walk. It is easy to fall into the habit of blaming external forces, other people, circumstances, or luck for the outcomes of your life. But self-reliance asks you to shift that perspective. Instead of viewing life as something that happens to you, you begin to see it as something you actively create. This mindset empowers you because it gives you the control to change your circumstances through your own efforts. Self-reliance does not mean isolation or rejecting help from others. Rather, it is the confidence that, regardless of external support, you are capable of standing on your own. This confidence is essential for personal mastery, which refers to the process of developing a deep understanding and control over oneself. Mastery involves cultivating skills, knowledge, and emotional intelligence to navigate life with purpose and precision. It is not about achieving perfection, but about continuously improving and growing. Self-reliance fuels this process because it encourages you to take initiative, make decisions, and learn from your experiences. One of the key aspects of self-reliance is the ability to trust your inner voice. Many people are accustomed to seeking approval or guidance from others before making decisions, often at the expense of their own intuition. While external advice can be valuable, it is important to recognize that no one knows your life, your dreams, or your values as intimately as you do. Learning to trust your instincts is a crucial part of self-reliance. When you rely on yourself, you become more in tune with your inner wisdom, which helps you make decisions that are aligned with your authentic self. This inner trust is the cornerstone of mastery because it fosters a deeper understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. To trusting your intuition, self-reliance requires self-discipline. Mastery is not achieved through sporadic effort, but through consistent, focused action. Self-discipline is the ability to stay committed to your goals, even when it is difficult. It is the strength to push through challenges, setbacks, and distractions without giving up. When you are self-reliant, you develop the discipline to take responsibility for your progress. You don't wait for motivation to strike instead. You create your own momentum through daily effort and perseverance. This discipline is what transforms self-reliance into mastery, as it allows you to continuously refine your skills and deepen your understanding of yourself and the world around you. In conclusion, self-reliance is the foundation for achieving personal mastery. It empowers you to trust your intuition, take responsibility for your life, and cultivate the discipline and resilience necessary for continuous growth. By fostering self-reliance, you gain the strength to navigate challenges, learn from failures, and develop a deep respect for yourself. Personal mastery is a lifelong journey, and with self-reliance as your guide, you have the power to shape your path and unlock your full potential. Thank you for your time, and may you continue to grow in self-reliance and mastery. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Today I want to share with you 9 powerful truths to remind yourself of everyday truths that, when practiced, can transform your life in ways unimaginable. The reality you live in today is the result of the thoughts you have repeatedly entertained in the past. Whether you're aware of it or not, you have been continuously shaping your world. The beliefs you hold about yourself, others, and the world have created the circumstances around you. If you believe that life is a struggle, filled with hardships, you will undoubtedly find yourself surrounded by challenges that reinforce that belief. On the other hand, if you hold a firm belief that the universe is abundant and full of opportunities, you will naturally attract experiences that confirm this truth. This is not to say that we consciously choose every single event in our lives. Sometimes, life presents us with situations we would never wish for. But even in those instances, the way we perceive and respond to them is still within our control. You may not be able to prevent a storm, but you can decide how you will weather it. In this way, you are always at the helm of your experience, navigating through life based on the state of your consciousness. When we speak of being the creator of your reality, it's important to recognize the power of thought. Thought is the seed from which all experiences grow. Every creation begins in the mind. The great buildings, cities, technologies, and works of art we admire today all started as ideas in someone's imagination. Similarly, every aspect of your life, your relationships, career, health, and personal growth begins with your thoughts. When you harness the power of your mind and direct it with intention, you become the architect of your future. Imagination plays a pivotal role in this process. What you imagine with feeling, you begin to experience in your outer world. The mind does not differentiate between what is imagined and what is real. It responds to both with equal intensity. This is why it is so vital to consciously engage your imagination in ways that serve your highest good. If you can see yourself living a life of joy, success, and love in your mind's eye, and you allow yourself to feel the emotions associated with that vision, you are planting the seeds for that life to materialize. However, simply imagining a better life is not enough. Creation requires belief. Your beliefs form the framework through which your reality is filtered. If you hold contradictory beliefs, if you imagine success but deep down believe you are unworthy of it, then your reality will reflect the conflict within. It's like planting a seed in barren soil. No matter how much you water it, it will not grow unless the environment is conducive to growth. You must cultivate beliefs that are in alignment with the life you wish to create. This requires inner work. It means examining your beliefs, especially those that limit you, and transforming them. The process may be uncomfortable at times as you confront old patterns of thinking that have kept you stuck, but it is necessary for growth. You must remind yourself daily that you are not a victim of circumstance, but the creator of your experience. Every time you catch yourself thinking disempowering thoughts, choose to shift them. Replace doubt with confidence, fear with faith, and limitation with possibility. It's also essential to understand the power of focus. What you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, they will multiply in your life. If you focus on opportunities, they will appear in abundance. The mind is incredibly potent in amplifying whatever it consistently dwells upon. This is why it's crucial to direct your attention toward the things you want to experience, rather than the things you wish to avoid. When you train your mind to see opportunities where others see obstacles, to expect success where others expect failure, you begin to attract those outcomes into your life. You are not a passive observer in this world. You are an active participant, continuously shaping your reality through your thoughts, beliefs, and focus. The power to create lies within you. It always has. The moment you truly accept that you are the creator of your reality, your life begins to change. You move from a place of reaction to a place of creation, and that shift is where your true power lies. Imagination is the key to transformation, a truth that is often overlooked in the fast-paced, logic-driven world we live in. Yet imagination holds the power to reshape our lives in profound ways. It is not just a tool for creativity or an escape from reality. It is the very foundation of how we create and transform our reality. Every significant change, whether in the world or within ourselves, begins with imagination. It is through imagination that we dream, innovate, and ultimately bring forth new possibilities that have the power to transform the course of our lives. At its core, imagination is the ability to form mental images, ideas, or concepts of things not physically present to the senses. But it goes beyond mere daydreaming. Imagination is a creative force that allows us to transcend our current circumstances and envision new realities. It's the seed from which all manifestation grows. Everything we see in the world around us, buildings, technology, art, societal structures, started as a thought in someone's mind, nurtured and developed through imagination before it took physical form. Imagination is the invisible blueprint for everything that becomes real. Transformation, whether it be personal growth, career success, or overcoming obstacles, begins in the mind. When we imagine a new reality for ourselves, we activate the mental process of creation. This mental vision becomes a guiding force that directs our actions, decisions, and emotions, leading us toward the transformation we seek. It's like charting a course for a journey without knowing where we want to go. We remain stuck in the same place, repeating the same patterns. Imagination gives us the destination, a vision of what could be. And from that vision, we begin to move toward it. Imagination is also the way we bridge the gap between who we are and who we wish to become. It allows us to step outside the limitations of our current identity and experience a new version of ourselves. When we close our eyes and imagine ourselves as more confident, successful, or fulfilled, we are not just indulging in fantasy, we are laying the groundwork for personal transformation. The subconscious mind, which drives much of our behavior, does not distinguish between reality and vividly imagined experiences. When we repeatedly imagine ourselves in a new way, our subconscious begins to accept that image as truth, and we start to act, feel, and live in alignment with that new reality. This transformative power of imagination has been demonstrated throughout history. Some of the greatest minds, from inventors to visionaries, relied heavily on their imagination to bring about world-changing ideas. Think of figures like Albert Einstein, who famously said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." He understood that while knowledge is limited to what we already know, imagination is boundless, allowing us to explore realms of possibility that have yet to be discovered. The greatest breakthroughs in science, art, and philosophy all stemmed from someone daring to imagine something different from the current reality. In our personal lives, imagination plays an equally vital role. It is through the creative use of our imagination that we can heal from past trauma, overcome limiting beliefs, and unlock new levels of potential. For example, when someone imagines themselves letting go of a painful memory, or sees themselves living a life free from a long-held fear, they are beginning the process of emotional transformation. The mind, when consistently exposed to these positive mental images, starts to rewire itself, forming new neural pathways that align with the imagined reality. Over time, what started as a simple exercise in imagination becomes an embodied truth. However, for imagination to truly be transformative, it must be combined with belief and feeling. It is not enough to simply picture something in your mind, you must feel the emotions of that imagined reality as if it were already true. When you feel the joy, excitement, or relief of your envisioned transformation, you create a powerful emotional signal that communicates to your subconscious mind that this new reality is possible. The mind and body begin to respond to these signals, aligning your actions, decisions, and energy with the imagined outcome. This process of combining imagination with emotion and belief is what sets true transformation into motion. Imagination is far more than a mental escape. It is a creative tool that holds the power to shape and transform our lives. By daring to imagine new possibilities, and by feeling those possibilities as real, we initiate a process of change that unfolds from the inside out. Through the consistent and intentional use of our imagination, we can break free from limiting patterns, create new realities, and ultimately transform into the people we are destined to become. The key is to embrace the power of imagination, nurture it, and trust in its ability to bring forth the transformation we seek. What you focus on expands. This simple yet profound principle has the power to shape every aspect of your life, from your relationships to your career, health, and happiness. It is a truth that underscores how our thoughts, attention, and energy directly influence our reality. Whatever we consistently focus on, whether positive or negative, grows and manifests in our lives. This is not some abstract or mystical concept. It's a fundamental law of how the human mind interacts with the world around it. At its core, this idea is based on the way our brains work. The human brain is an extraordinary filtering system. Every day we are bombarded with vast amounts of information, far more than we can consciously process. To make sense of the world, the brain filters out most of this information and focuses on what it deems important. The deciding factor for what gets through this filter is what we consistently focus on. The brain interprets our focus as a sign that something is important to us, and as a result, it starts finding more of it in our environment. On the flip side, when you focus on solutions, possibilities, and positive outcomes, you send your energy in a direction that supports growth, creativity, and progress. Focusing on the things you are grateful for example, can dramatically shift your energy and mood. Gratitude opens your mind and heart to more abundance, because when you focus on what you have, rather than what you lack, you are acknowledging that life is already full. This positive focus encourages more blessings to flow into your life. This principle doesn't mean that we should ignore challenges or pretend that problems don't exist. Instead, it's about choosing where to place the majority of our mental and emotional energy. Challenges are a part of life, but how we focus on them determines whether they will drag us down or become opportunities for growth. By focusing on solutions, resilience, and learning, we shift the narrative of our experiences. We move from a state of helplessness to one of empowerment. The more you practice this shift, the easier it becomes. Over time, your brain will start to automatically filter your experiences in a way that supports your growth and happiness. You'll begin to notice more opportunities, more reasons to be grateful, and more reasons to feel empowered. This doesn't mean that life will be without challenges, but it does mean that you'll be better equipped to handle them from a place of strength, optimism, and resilience. The power of focus lies in its ability to shape your internal and external worlds. When you focus on what you want, rather than what you don't want, you harness the creative power of your mind to expand those desires into your reality. What you focus on truly expands, and by consciously directing your focus, you have the ability to transform your life in meaningful and lasting ways. Live in the end result is a principle that calls for aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the reality of your desire being already fulfilled. Instead of waiting for external conditions to change before feeling successful, happy, or fulfilled, this approach suggests that you first embody the emotional and mental state of having achieved your goal. This idea is more than just wishful thinking. It is a profound psychological and spiritual practice that taps into the power of the subconscious mind, aligning your entire being with the future you seek to create. The concept is rooted in the understanding that the external world reflects the internal state of your consciousness. Most people approach life by responding to their circumstances. If things go well, they feel good. If things go poorly, they feel bad. But living in the end result flips this process. Rather than waiting for your circumstances to validate your emotions, you begin by cultivating the feelings and beliefs that align with your desired outcome. This practice conditions your mind and body to act as if your goals have already been achieved, thus influencing your reality in powerful ways. When you live in the end result, you are no longer thinking in terms of someday, or if you shift your mindset to a state of being where your desired outcome is already true. For instance, if you are seeking financial abundance, you don't dwell on the current lack of money or the difficulties in obtaining it. Instead, you imagine yourself already living a life of financial freedom. You embrace the feelings of security, abundance, and ease that come with it. In doing so, you align your thoughts and emotions with the reality of abundance, which begins to shift your actions, decisions, and even the opportunities you attract. The power of living in the end result lies in the fact that the subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. When you consistently visualize your desired outcome and embody the feelings that accompany it, your subconscious begins to accept this as your reality. Over time, it reshapes your habits, behaviors, and perceptions to align with that new reality. This is why elite athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and high achievers often use visualization techniques as part of their routine. By seeing and feeling themselves already at the finish line, they condition their minds and bodies to act in ways that make that vision a reality. But the practice goes deeper than just visualization. It's about truly feeling that you are already living your desired life. The key is to cultivate the emotional state that comes with your goal's fulfillment. For example, if your desire is a loving relationship, you must first embody the feelings of love, companionship, and joy, rather than focusing on the lack of those things in your life. By doing so, you attract experiences and people that resonate with the emotional frequency you are emitting. The same applies to career success, health, personal growth, or any other area of life. Living in the end result also encourages you to stop worrying about how your goals will be achieved. Many people get caught up in the details, obsessing over the steps they need to take, or doubting whether their dreams are even possible. This doubt and focus on the how can create resistance, which blocks the flow of opportunities and solutions. When you live in the end result, you trust that the necessary steps and opportunities will unfold naturally. You let go of the need to control every aspect of the journey, knowing that the energy you put into feeling and believing in the outcome will attract the right circumstances. It's important to understand that living in the end result doesn't mean ignoring your present circumstances or pretending challenges don't exist. It's not about denying reality, it's about recognizing that your current reality is malleable and can be shaped by the state of your consciousness. You don't have to wait for your external situation to improve before you can feel the way you want to feel. Instead, you can create a shift internally first, which in turn influences your external reality. One of the most significant benefits of living in the end result is the reduction of stress and anxiety. When you believe that your desires are already fulfilled, there's no need for desperation, fear, or doubt. You operate from a place of confidence and trust. This doesn't mean you won't take action, quite the opposite. Living in the end result often motivates inspired action, but the difference is that your actions come from a place of certainty rather than fear. You move forward with the assurance that everything is already working out in your favor. Living in the end result requires practice and patience, especially if you're accustomed to focusing on lack or doubt. It's easy to fall back into old habits of worry or fear, particularly when faced with challenges. But the more you practice shifting your focus to the feeling of your desired outcome, the more natural it becomes. Over time, this practice can lead to profound changes in your life, as the internal shifts in your consciousness are reflected in the external world. Living in the end result is a way of aligning yourself with your highest potential. It's a powerful approach to life that allows you to move beyond fear, doubt, and limitation, and into a state of trust, abundance, and empowerment. By embodying the energy of your fulfilled desires, you become a magnet for the experiences, opportunities, and resources that bring those desires into reality. Persist in your assumptions is a powerful principle that teaches the importance of maintaining unwavering belief in your desired outcome, regardless of current circumstances or external challenges. This idea is rooted in the understanding that your assumptions, or the things you believe to be true, shape your reality. What you assume about yourself, others, and the world around you acts as a blueprint for how your life unfolds. To persist in your assumptions means to hold fast to the belief that what you desire is already yours, even when it appears otherwise. The power of assumption is closely tied to the workings of the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not question or rationalize, it accepts whatever you feed it as truth. Therefore, the assumptions you consistently hold will be accepted by the subconscious as your reality, regardless of whether they are true in the present moment. By persisting in a chosen assumption, you are effectively reprogramming your subconscious mind to align with the reality you desire. Over time, this shift in your internal state begins to reflect outwardly in your experiences. For example, if you desire success in your career but currently feel stuck or undervalued, persisting in the assumption that you are already successful despite the present evidence starts to shift your reality. Instead of focusing on your current limitations or obstacles, you focus on the feeling of having already achieved your goal. You imagine what it feels like to be recognized, valued, and thriving in your career. By persisting in this assumption, your subconscious begins to accept this as truth, and as a result, your actions, attitudes, and the opportunities you attract start to align with this new belief. This is not simply about positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. Persistence in assumption requires a deep and consistent commitment to the belief that your desired outcome is inevitable. It involves rejecting any thoughts or feelings of doubt, fear, or failure. It's a mental and emotional discipline that requires you to constantly return to the assumption of your success, even when external circumstances suggest otherwise. In this way, you train your mind to focus on what you want, rather than on what you don't want. The challenges are a natural part of life, and there will be times when external circumstances seem to contradict your assumptions. Perhaps you're trying to manifest a loving relationship, but every date goes wrong. Or maybe you're aiming for financial freedom, yet bills keep piling up. These moments of contradiction are where persistence is truly tested. It's easy to fall back into old patterns of doubt or frustration, but to persist in your assumption means to stand firm in the belief that your desired outcome is on its way, regardless of temporary setbacks. One of the key reasons this principle works is that the world around you is highly influenced by your internal state. Your beliefs, thoughts, and assumptions affect your perception, which in turn affects how you interact with the world. If you assume that opportunities are scarce, you are likely to miss them even when they are right in front of you, because your mind is conditioned to overlook them. On the other hand, if you assume that opportunities are abundant, you will naturally notice and seize them. Persistence in assumption shifts your internal filter, making you more receptive to the possibilities that align with your desires. Additionally, the energy you put out into the world is shaped by your assumptions. If you assume that you are capable, deserving, and destined for success, you will emit a confidence that draws positive experiences toward you. People respond to your energy, often without even realizing it. When you persist in an assumption of confidence and success, others start to treat you accordingly, creating a feedback loop that reinforces your belief. Conversely, if you persist in an assumption of lack or unworthiness, that too becomes your reality, as your energy repels the very things you seek. The law of assumption also teaches that time is irrelevant when it comes to manifestation. Your desired outcome exists in a state beyond time. It is the persistence of your assumption that draws it into your present reality. Many people give up on their dreams or desires because they don't see immediate results. But manifestation doesn't operate on a human timeline, it operates on belief. The moment you persist in your assumption, the process begins. Whether it takes days, months, or years to materialize is not as important as your ability to hold on to the belief that it will happen. When you persist, you build an unshakable faith that what you desire is already yours, and it will manifest in its own perfect timing. However, persisting in your assumptions also requires self-awareness. You must be willing to examine your habitual thoughts and beliefs, many of which operate below the surface. If you continually affirm that you are successful but carry deep-seated beliefs of unworthiness or failure, these underlying assumptions will sabotage your efforts. Persistence requires you to root out these limiting beliefs and replace them with new, empowering assumptions that support the reality you want to create. This can be a challenging process, as it involves confronting old patterns and emotional wounds, but it is essential for true transformation. Ultimately, to persist in your assumptions is to claim your power as a creator of your reality. It is a practice of faith, discipline, and inner alignment. By holding firm to the assumption of your desired outcome, no matter what external circumstances arise, you set in motion the forces that will bring that outcome into your life. This principle allows you to transcend the limitations of your current reality and step into a future that is shaped by your deepest desires and beliefs. The world will eventually conform to your assumptions, but only if you persist. Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you to embark on a journey toward a better you version of yourself, where the greatest treasures lie not in external possessions, but within the creative power of your own mind. In this journey, there are certain pitfalls that must be avoided, behaviors that, like chains, bind you to a lesser version of yourself. And in freeing yourself from these, you unlock the potential to create, to manifest, and to live in alignment with your deepest desires. Negative self-talk is one of the most insidious behaviors that can prevent you from realizing your potential. It often operates subtly, creeping into your thoughts without you even realizing its impact. Every time you think or say something negative about yourself, you reinforce a limiting belief, solidifying an image of yourself that is small, incapable, or unworthy. The mind is incredibly powerful, and it will always strive to align your outer reality with the inner narrative you consistently tell. If that narrative is one of failure, inadequacy, or unworthiness, then you will begin to see those qualities reflected in your life, relationships, and experiences. The way you speak to yourself is in fact a creative act. Every thought you entertain, every phrase you utter about yourself is like casting a spell. Words carry energy, and that energy shapes your internal and external worlds. When you say things like, "I can't do this" or "I'm not good enough," you are not merely making observations, you are cementing those ideas as truths. And in doing so, you close yourself off from the vast possibilities that life offers. You limit your own power by placing a ceiling on what you believe is achievable. It is important to understand that the subconscious mind is always listening, always absorbing the messages you give it. Unlike the conscious mind, the subconscious does not question or analyze, it simply accepts what it is given and works to manifest those beliefs into your reality. If you continually feed it negativity, it will mirror those thoughts in the circumstances and experiences you encounter. You begin to attract situations, people, and outcomes that validate the narrative you've internalized. What makes negative self-talk particularly dangerous is that it often goes unnoticed. It becomes a background noise, a constant hum that accompanies your daily life. You may not even realize how frequently you criticize yourself, diminish your achievements, or question your worth. But over time, these thoughts accumulate, forming a foundation upon which your sense of self is built. The more you indulge in negative self-talk, the more difficult it becomes to break free from it, because it starts to feel like reality. You convince yourself that this is just who you are when, in truth, it is merely a reflection of your current thought patterns. To change this, you must first become aware of the language you use when speaking to yourself. Pay attention to the internal dialogue that runs through your mind. Notice the moments when you judge yourself harshly or predict failure before even trying. Awareness is the first step toward change, because you cannot transform what you do not acknowledge. Once you become conscious of your self-talk, you can begin to shift it. Instead of allowing negative thoughts to dominate, you can deliberately replace them with empowering, positive affirmations. This process requires persistence and patience. Negative self-talk is often deeply ingrained, the result of years of conditioning and societal programming. You may not be able to silence those critical voices overnight, but with consistent effort, you can weaken their grip. Begin by challenging the thoughts that arise. Ask yourself, is this really true more often than not? You will find that your self-criticisms are exaggerated or entirely baseless. Then, consciously choose to rewrite the narrative. Replace "I can't" with "I can." Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," say, "I am capable of growth and improvement." As you continue this practice, something remarkable happens. Your perception of yourself begins to shift. Your mind, no longer confined by negativity, starts to open up to new possibilities. You begin to see opportunities where there once were only obstacles. You find strength where you previously saw weakness. Your sense of self-worth grows, and with it, your capacity to create the life you desire. The mind is a garden, and your thoughts are the seeds. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, you will reap a harvest of disappointment. But if you plant seeds of confidence, positivity, and self-love, your life will bloom with abundance. The choice is always yours. Procrastination is a subtle form of self-sabotage, a behavior that prevents you from aligning with your goals and aspirations. It often masquerades as harmless delay, but in reality it creates a gap between intention and action, making it increasingly difficult to bring your desires into reality. Every time you put off a task, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, you reinforce a habit of inaction. And the longer you delay, the more daunting the task becomes, creating a cycle of avoidance that leads to stagnation. One of the most harmful aspects of procrastination is the illusion that there will always be more time. We often tell ourselves that we'll start tomorrow, or next week, or when conditions are just right. But this belief that there's an ideal moment to begin is deceptive. Conditions will never be perfect. There will always be distractions, obstacles, or uncertainties. Waiting for the perfect moment is simply an excuse to avoid stepping into the discomfort of action. What we fail to realize is that the act of starting, no matter how imperfectly, is the key to momentum. Once you take that first step, the next one becomes easier, and progress starts to build. Procrastination isn't just about delaying tasks, it's about delaying growth. Every goal, every ambition requires action to come to fruition. When you procrastinate, you put a hold on your own development. Whether it's a career goal, a personal project, or even a relationship. The longer you wait to engage with it, the more opportunities slip by unnoticed. Time, once lost, cannot be reclaimed. And while the consequences of procrastination may not be immediately visible, they accumulate over time, leading to a sense of unfulfilled potential and regret. There is also an emotional toll that comes with procrastination. As you continually delay action, a sense of guilt or anxiety begins to set in. You become aware, even subconsciously, that you are not living up to your own expectations. This creates an internal conflict, a tension between what you know you should be doing and what you're actually doing. This tension can sap your energy and enthusiasm, making it even harder to take action. Over time, procrastination can erode your confidence as you begin to question your ability to follow through on your commitments, not just to others, but to yourself. At the root of procrastination is often fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown. When faced with a task that challenges you, there's a natural instinct to avoid it in order to protect yourself from potential disappointment or discomfort. But this fear, though understandable, is misplaced. Growth and progress always come with a certain level of discomfort. Every new venture, every goal worth pursuing, requires you to stretch beyond your current limitations. By avoiding that discomfort, you also avoid the very experiences that lead to personal growth and achievement. Procrastination can also be tied to perfectionism, the belief that you must wait until you are fully prepared or until you can execute something flawlessly, often leads to indefinite delays. Perfectionism creates unrealistic standards that are impossible to meet, paralyzing you in a state of inaction. You become trapped in an endless loop of preparation, constantly refining and planning, but never actually doing. The truth is, there will never be a perfect moment to start, and you will never be perfectly prepared. The path to success is messy, filled with mistakes and learning along the way. But by waiting for perfection, you deny yourself the opportunity to evolve through experience. In many ways, procrastination is a defense mechanism. It's a way of protecting yourself from the vulnerability that comes with taking action. To act is to expose yourself to judgment, to failure, to the possibility of not meeting your expectations. But it's also the only way to achieve anything of value. Every great accomplishment, no matter how monumental, began with a single step forward, and that step required the individual to overcome the inertia of procrastination, to act despite fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Another overlooked aspect of procrastination is the ripple effect it has on other areas of life. When you delay action in one area, it often spills over into others. If you consistently put off important tasks, it can create a backlog of unfinished business, leading to stress and overwhelm. This, in turn, can affect your mental clarity, emotional well-being, and even your relationships. Procrastination, in this sense, becomes a habit, a way of being that permeates your life, making it difficult to maintain focus, discipline, and forward momentum in all aspects of your existence. It's important to recognize that procrastination is not a reflection of laziness or lack of ambition. It is a pattern of behavior that can be changed, but only through conscious effort. Many people who struggle with procrastination are highly capable and have grand visions for their lives. However, their fear of stepping into the unknown, or their desire for perfection, holds them back from realizing those visions. The key to breaking free from procrastination is to take action in small, manageable steps. By starting with one small task, you build confidence and momentum, which then makes it easier to tackle larger, more complex tasks. Procrastination robs you of the most valuable resource you have: time. Time is finite, and how you choose to use it determines the quality and trajectory of your life. When you delay action, you are not just postponing tasks, you are postponing the fulfillment of your potential. Each moment that passes is an opportunity to create, to grow, to move closer to your goals. But when you procrastinate, those moments slip away, leaving you with nothing but the weight of what could have been. Fear of failure is one of the most paralyzing forces that can hold a person back from realizing their true potential. It stems from a deep-seated belief that making mistakes or experiencing setbacks reflects a fundamental inadequacy, and this belief creates an intense desire to avoid situations where failure is possible. Instead of viewing failure as a natural part of growth, it becomes something to be feared and avoided at all costs. The fear itself often becomes larger than the actual event of failing, turning into a mental barrier that limits action, progress, and personal development. At its core, the fear of failure is often tied to our identity and sense of self-worth. Many people equate their achievements or successes with their value as individuals. When failure occurs, it is not seen as just a temporary setback or a learning experience. Instead, it feels like a direct reflection of who they are. The fear, then, is not just about the failure itself, but about the judgment that follows, whether from others or from within. It's the fear that failing means being seen as inadequate, incompetent, or unworthy. This creates a high-stakes environment where even the smallest possibility of failure feels like a threat to one's very identity. Because of this fear, many people avoid taking risks or pursuing new opportunities. They stay within the comfort zone, where they feel safe and in control. However, this safety is an illusion. By avoiding failure, they are also avoiding the chance to grow, learn, and evolve. Sticking to what's familiar may prevent failure, but it also prevents success. Opportunities for growth lie beyond the boundaries of what is known, and to reach them requires the willingness to face uncertainty and the potential for failure. Yet for many, the thought of stepping into the unknown is overwhelming, and they retreat to what feels secure, even if it means remaining stagnant. This fear of failure can manifest in subtle ways. Sometimes it leads to perfectionism, where the individual becomes so focused on avoiding mistakes that they never feel ready to start or complete a task. They get caught in an endless cycle of preparation, tweaking, and refining, but never actually take the plunge. The desire to do everything perfectly the first time becomes a way to protect themselves from failure, but in reality, it's just another form of avoidance. The pursuit of perfection becomes a way of delaying action indefinitely, ensuring that failure never has a chance to happen because nothing ever gets finished. In other cases, the fear of failure leads to procrastination. When faced with a task or challenge that carries the risk of failure, some people delay taking action altogether. By not starting, they protect themselves from the possibility of failing, but they also prevent any chance of success. This avoidance strategy might provide temporary relief, but it creates long-term consequences. The tasks pile up, the pressure builds, and the fear of failure intensifies as the stakes grow higher. Eventually, the individual may feel overwhelmed by both the looming possibility of failure and the mounting evidence of their inaction. Fear of failure can also cause people to lower their aspirations and settle for less than they are capable of achieving. When the fear becomes too strong, it's easier to shrink your goals and pursue something safer, something that feels attainable without much risk. But in doing so, they limit their own potential. The fear convinces them that aiming for something greater will only lead to disappointment, so they choose paths that are comfortable but unchallenging. This self-limiting behavior creates a cycle of mediocrity, where they never push themselves beyond what they already know, and as a result, they miss out on the chance to discover their true capabilities. Another effect of the fear of failure is how it distorts the way people interpret setbacks or mistakes. Instead of seeing failure as a normal part of the learning process, it's viewed as final and catastrophic. When failure occurs, it's taken as a confirmation of one's worst fears that they aren't good enough or capable enough. This mindset makes it difficult to recover from failure because it turns every setback into an overwhelming emotional experience. The pain of failure becomes so intense that it discourages further attempts, reinforcing the belief that failure is something to be avoided at all costs. However, failure itself is rarely as damaging as the fear surrounding it. In most cases, failure is a temporary condition, a single moment in time that passes and provides valuable insights for future attempts. The fear, on the other hand, creates a long-lasting barrier that prevents progress and growth. It magnifies the consequences of failure in the mind, making them seem larger and more devastating than they actually are. This exaggerated perception of failure keeps people trapped in their current circumstances, unable to move forward because they believe the risk of failure outweighs the potential rewards. The impact of the fear of failure extends beyond individual goals and ambitions. It can affect relationships, careers, and personal fulfillment. In relationships, fear of failure may cause people to avoid vulnerability, fearing that being open and authentic might lead to rejection or disappointment. In the workplace, it can result in missed opportunities, as individuals may shy away from leadership roles or challenging projects due to the fear of not being able to succeed. On a personal level, it can lead to a sense of dissatisfaction, as people realize they are living below their potential, but feel unable to break free from the fear that holds them back. Fear of failure is not just about avoiding failure itself, it's about avoiding the possibility of discomfort, embarrassment, or criticism. It's about maintaining the appearance of control, even if that means staying in a place of safety and predictability. But in doing so, people rob themselves of the richness that life has to offer. Failure is an inevitable part of the human experience, and with it comes growth, resilience, and wisdom. Yet the fear of it keeps many from ever realizing what they are truly capable of. This fear, though deeply ingrained, is a barrier to the kind of meaningful, fulfilling life that can only be achieved through risk, challenge, and yes, sometimes failure. Blaming others is a behavior that often feels justified in the moment, but ultimately becomes a barrier to personal growth and empowerment. When things don't go as planned, or when difficulties arise, it can be tempting to shift the responsibility onto someone or something external. This habit provides temporary relief by placing the burden of accountability elsewhere, but in the long term, it perpetuates a mindset of victimhood and helplessness. Each time you blame someone else for a negative outcome, you effectively give away your power to change the situation or to learn from it. At its core, blaming others stems from an unwillingness to face uncomfortable truths about our own role in the events of our lives. It's far easier to point a finger at external circumstances, whether it be a colleague, a partner, or even society at large, than to confront our own mistakes, limitations, or poor decisions. This deflection protects the ego from the sting of failure or criticism, but it also blocks self-awareness and personal development. When the focus is always on what others did wrong, you miss the opportunity to reflect on what you could do differently to create better outcomes. Blame also creates a false sense of control. By blaming others, you convince yourself that if only external conditions were different, everything would be better. This narrative makes it seem like the solution lies outside of yourself, in the actions or behavior of others. But in reality, true control comes from acknowledging that while you may not have power over every external event, you do have control over your reactions, your decisions, and your mindset. Blame shifts this power away from you, making it harder to take meaningful steps toward change. Moreover, blaming others can lead to strained relationships. When blame is the default response, it creates an environment of defensiveness and mistrust. People feel attacked, and rather than fostering cooperation or understanding, blame drives a wedge between individuals. Over time, this can erode communication and build resentment. In personal relationships, whether romantic, familial, or professional, constantly blaming others damages the connection and makes it difficult to resolve conflicts in a healthy, constructive way. Blame is also closely tied to a fixed mindset, where people believe that their abilities and circumstances are unchangeable. In this mindset, failure is seen as a personal flaw, something to be avoided at all costs. When something goes wrong, rather than viewing it as an opportunity to learn or grow, people in a fixed mindset look for external reasons to explain the failure. By blaming others, they avoid confronting the belief that they themselves might need to adapt, improve, or take a different approach. This limits their ability to evolve because they never take ownership of their own growth process. Another consequence of blaming others is that it prevents accountability. Taking responsibility for your actions, choices, and outcomes is crucial for personal empowerment. When you accept accountability, you give yourself the ability to make changes, learn from mistakes, and improve future outcomes. Blame, on the other hand, keeps you stuck in a loop of repetition, where the same problems continue to surface because you're not addressing the underlying issues. Without accountability, there's no room for improvement, and you remain in a state of dependency on external factors to determine your success or happiness. Blaming others can also contribute to a sense of dissatisfaction with life. When you're constantly focused on what others are doing wrong or how external circumstances are unfair, it fosters a mindset of negativity and frustration. You start to see the world as something that's happening to you, rather than something you have a role in shaping. This perspective breeds cynicism and can lead to feelings of bitterness or powerlessness. Rather than feeling like an active participant in your own life, you become a passive observer, waiting for circumstances to change before you can move forward. In many cases, the habit of blaming others is learned early in life. It might come from watching adults or authority figures deflect responsibility, or it might be reinforced by environments that discourage personal accountability. Over time, it becomes an ingrained behavior, one that feels automatic and often goes unnoticed. However, like any habit, it can be unlearned. The first step is recognizing the tendency to blame and understanding how it limits your growth and your ability to take charge of your own life. Once you become aware of it, you can begin to consciously choose a different response, one that focuses on responsibility and self-reflection. Blaming others also distracts from the bigger picture. Life is complex, and most situations are influenced by a multitude of factors. Focusing on blame narrows your perspective, preventing you from seeing the full range of possibilities for change and improvement. It encourages a black and white view of situations, where someone is either right or wrong, responsible or innocent. But in reality, most situations involve shades of gray, where multiple factors including your own choices play a role in the outcome. By moving away from blame and toward understanding, you open yourself up to a more nuanced and empowering way of seeing the world. Blaming others perpetuates a mindset of separation. It reinforces the idea that you are isolated from those around you, that their actions and your outcomes are disconnected. But in truth, we are all interconnected, and the way we interact with others, the choices we make, and the attitudes we hold all contribute to the collective experience. When you blame others, you distance yourself from this interconnectedness and miss the opportunity to collaborate, grow, and find solutions together. Instead of seeing others as part of the problem, you can choose to see them as part of the process of growth and transformation. Living in the past is a behavior that keeps individuals trapped in a cycle of regret, nostalgia, or unresolved emotions. When you constantly focus on past experiences, whether they were moments of happiness or pain, you remove yourself from the present moment, the only time in which real change, growth, and creation can occur. The past, while important for learning and reflection, can become a prison when it dominates your thoughts and prevents you from engaging with the present and future possibilities. One of the primary reasons people get stuck in the past is due to unresolved emotions. When painful experiences are not properly processed, they can leave a lingering imprint on the mind, replaying over and over like a loop. You may dwell on what you could have done differently, what others should have done, or how things might have turned out. This rumination creates a state of mental paralysis where the same thoughts and emotions are recycled, but no progress is made in moving forward. The more you revisit these memories, the stronger their emotional charge becomes, making it harder to break free from the past. Living in the past can also be a way of avoiding the uncertainties of the present and the future. The past is known, it's familiar and fixed, and for some it provides a sense of comfort. Even if the memories are painful, they are predictable, unlike the unknown future, which can provoke fear or anxiety. This attachment to the past may feel like a safe refuge from the unpredictability of life, but it comes at the cost of personal evolution. By clinging to the past, you limit your ability to embrace new opportunities, relationships, and experiences that could lead to growth and fulfillment. Another way people live in the past is through nostalgia, particularly when they idealize certain moments or periods in their lives. They may romanticize the good old days, believing that those times were somehow better than the present. This selective memory filters out the challenges and difficulties that likely existed during those moments, focusing only on the positives. While reminiscing can bring comfort or joy, excessive nostalgia can create dissatisfaction with the present. The more you long for a past that no longer exists, the more you disconnect from the richness and potential of the current moment. Living in the past also impacts your relationships. When your mind is focused on past experiences, you may struggle to be fully present with the people in your life. You may hold on to grudges or unresolved conflicts, projecting old wounds onto current interactions. This can prevent you from forming deep, authentic connections because you are not truly engaging with the present version of the people around you. Instead, you filter your interactions through the lens of past experiences, limiting your ability to see others and yourself as dynamic, evolving beings capable of growth and change. People live in the past because they are seeking validation for their current circumstances. They may hold on to past achievements or failures as a way to justify where they are now. For instance, someone who experienced success in the past may use those memories to feel better about their current situation, even if it no longer reflects who they are or what they are capable of. On the other hand, someone who has experienced failure may continue to identify with that failure, allowing it to define their self-worth and limit their future possibilities. In both cases, the past becomes a crutch, preventing individuals from fully embracing the present and their potential to create something new. Living in the past also creates a sense of stagnation. Life is constantly moving forward, evolving and changing, but when you're stuck in past memories or regrets, you remain in a state of inertia. You may resist new challenges or opportunities because they require you to let go of what was and step into the unknown. This resistance to change can lead to feelings of frustration, disappointment, or even depression, as you realize that life is passing by while you remain mentally anchored in a time that no longer exists. The energy that could be used to create new experiences is instead consumed by replaying old ones, leaving little room for growth. In some cases, living in the past is a way of avoiding responsibility for the present. It can be easier to blame past circumstances, decisions, or other people for your current situation than to take ownership of where you are now. When you constantly reference the past as the source of your present difficulties, you create a narrative in which you are powerless to change your circumstances. This mindset keeps you locked in a cycle of victimhood, where the past is seen as an immovable force that controls your life, rather than something you have the power to transcend. The habit of living in the past also disrupts your ability to set and pursue future goals. When your focus is on what has already happened, it becomes difficult to envision a different future or to take action toward creating one. Your energy is consumed by what was, leaving little room for what could be. As a result, you may find yourself repeating the same patterns, stuck in a loop of familiar experiences rather than forging new paths. This lack of forward momentum can lead to feelings of frustration, as you wonder why things never seem to change, despite your desire for something more. Living in the past can also distort your perception of time. When you are constantly revisiting old memories or dwelling on past mistakes, it creates the illusion that time is standing still. You may feel like you're not making progress in life because your mind is tethered to events that have already passed. This distorted sense of time can make it difficult to appreciate the progress you've made or to recognize the opportunities that are available to you in the present. The past becomes a kind of mental anchor, weighing you down and preventing you from moving forward with clarity and purpose. Living in the past robs you of the opportunity to fully engage with the present moment. The present is where life is happening, where you have the power to make choices, take action, and shape your future. By constantly looking backward, you miss the beauty, possibilities, and growth that exist right now. While the past may hold valuable lessons or cherished memories, it is not a place to live. The only way to move forward is to release your attachment to what was and open yourself to the limitless potential of what could be. Seeking validation from others is a behavior rooted in the desire for external approval and affirmation. It stems from the belief that your worth, success, or happiness is dependent on how others perceive you. While it's natural to want recognition or praise, constantly seeking validation from external sources can become a limiting habit that undermines self-confidence and personal growth. When you rely on the opinions or approval of others to feel good about yourself, you hand over your sense of self-worth to forces outside your control. At the heart of seeking validation is often an underlying insecurity or lack of self-belief. People who habitually seek validation tend to question their own abilities, decisions, or value, and look to others to confirm that they are doing the right thing or that they are worthy. This reliance on external feedback creates a cycle of dependence, where your self-esteem becomes tied to how others respond to you. As a result, your sense of identity is shaped more by what others think of you than by your own inner understanding of who you are and what you value. This constant need for approval can lead to people-pleasing behavior. When you seek validation, you may go out of your way to accommodate others, even at the expense of your own needs or desires. You become focused on saying the right thing, doing what others expect, or conforming to social norms in order to receive positive feedback. While this might bring temporary approval, it ultimately creates a disconnect between your true self and the version of yourself you present to the world. Over time, this can lead to feelings of frustration or resentment, as you realize that you are not living authentically, but rather shaping your life around others' expectations. Validation can also stifle creativity and innovation. When you're constantly concerned with what others think, you're less likely to take risks or pursue ideas that deviate from the norm. Fear of criticism or rejection can hold you back from exploring new possibilities or expressing your unique perspective. Instead of following your own instincts and passions, you might choose the safer route that is more likely to gain approval. This fear of judgment prevents you from tapping into your full potential as you prioritize external acceptance over your own creative expression. Another consequence of seeking validation is that it can lead to a lack of fulfillment. When your sense of self-worth is based on external validation, you are constantly chasing the next compliment, approval, or recognition. This creates a never-ending cycle, where no amount of praise or approval ever feels like enough. Once the initial satisfaction wears off, you find yourself seeking more validation, always looking for the next source of affirmation to fill the void. This external focus keeps you from developing a deep sense of inner contentment and self-acceptance, as you are always dependent on others for your sense of worth. Seeking validation also makes you vulnerable to manipulation. When people know that you crave approval, they can use this to their advantage, influencing your decisions or behavior by withholding or offering praise. This can lead to situations where you compromise your values or make choices that aren't in your best interest, simply to gain approval or avoid rejection. Over time, this erodes your autonomy and self-respect as you become more focused on pleasing others than on staying true to yourself. The need for validation can cloud your judgment, making it difficult to discern what is right for you versus what will earn you approval from others. Validation can create an unhealthy dynamic in relationships. When you constantly look to others for validation, you may place an undue burden on them to meet your emotional needs. This can lead to dependency, where you rely on your partner, friends, or family to provide the reassurance and affirmation that should come from within. It can also create an imbalance in the relationship, where your happiness becomes contingent on the other person's approval, rather than being rooted in your own sense of self-worth. This dynamic can strain relationships as it places pressure on others to constantly provide validation and may lead to frustration or tension over time. Seeking validation can also hinder personal growth and self-discovery. When you are focused on what others think, you may avoid exploring new interests, opinions, or paths that might challenge or upset those around you. You may stick to familiar roles or behaviors that have earned approval in the past, even if they no longer align with your true self. This prevents you from evolving and discovering who you truly are beyond the expectations and judgments of others. It keeps you in a box, limiting your ability to grow, learn, and transform in ways that are authentic to your own journey. Furthermore, the constant pursuit of external validation can distract you from developing self-trust and confidence. When you rely on others to validate your worth or decisions, you weaken your ability to trust your own judgment and instincts. You may second-guess yourself, always looking for reassurance or approval before taking action. This erodes your confidence over time, as you become more dependent on external feedback and less sure of your own inner guidance. Instead of building a solid foundation of self-trust, you look outward for cues on how to think, feel, and behave. Seeking validation from others can lead to emotional instability. When your sense of worth is tied to how others perceive you, your mood and self-esteem fluctuate based on external feedback. Positive validation might lift you up temporarily, but any criticism, rejection, or indifference can send you spiraling into self-doubt or insecurity. This creates a roller coaster of emotions, where your sense of self-worth is constantly at the mercy of external forces beyond your control. Instead of cultivating a stable and grounded sense of self, you become reactive to the opinions and judgments of others. Seeking validation can create a sense of emptiness or disconnection from your true self. When you are always focused on gaining approval from others, you may lose sight of your own values, desires, and passions. You become more concerned with fitting in or meeting others' expectations than with pursuing what truly fulfills you. This disconnect from your authentic self can lead to feelings of dissatisfaction, as you realize that the approval you seek from others does not bring lasting happiness or fulfillment. It is only by turning inward and learning to validate yourself that you can find true contentment and a deeper sense of purpose. In conclusion, avoiding behaviors like negative self-talk, procrastination, fear of failure, blaming others, living in the past, and constantly seeking validation are crucial steps toward personal growth and empowerment. These habits limit your potential and keep you from embracing the fullness of who you are. By recognizing these behaviors and consciously shifting away from them, you reclaim your power and open yourself up to new possibilities for success, happiness, and fulfillment. It's not about being perfect, but about taking responsibility for your mindset, actions, and the way you live each day. Thank you.